Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. We are back again with the PWCC Weekly Review where I go through the top 100 soccer items auction off this week. As always, if you enjoyed the video, do make sure to leave a like. Helps me, helps the channel. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. As always, starting from the bottom and working our way up this week at $220, $230. I mean, pretty high watermark this week. There's a lot of good stuff in the auction blocks, so looking forward to it, but that explains why we're here. We start off with 3 straight Messis. We have a red-blue wave here from 2018 Prism and a PSA 10, along with a couple PSA 6 rookies. There are going to be a few more here. Notably, I think there's a 5 that's above these 6s, which is a little strange, but when there's a lot going, that kind of happens from time to time. This 5 goes a little bit higher, which is, somewhat understandable considering it's the blue version of the team set. People tend to like the blue more than the white and the green, at least from what I've been able to tell price-wise, so that's somewhat reasonable. We have a 2021 Immaculate Collection booklet, Harry Kane, so this is sort of along the same lines as the Ronaldos that we've been seeing lately. There will be another Ronaldo in this auction block, not the auto version though. We have a PSA 10 Erling Haaland Chrome base. Here's the PSA 5 that I was mentioning prior. Really no clue why this went higher than the other ones, but maybe someone's, buying the card, not the grade. If so, good for them. I will say, honestly, when it comes to like 5 to 6, it's so incredibly hard to tell that I'm not really sure. But nonetheless, when there's that many going, it's just going to be difficult to have them all go for the price they should. So there will be things that fall through or go a bit higher. PSA 6 next to it. I would say generally these all went for, pretty reasonable prices, or at least what you'd expect, which is I guess an alright sign considering there were so many going at the same time. We have a 1975-76 Blocken here, PSA 8 going for $252, pop one of 11, 2 higher. PWCC has been a lot better at that lately, having the proper PSA pop reports beneath the pictures. Back in the day, they were painfully brutal at it, but I think now they've done a lot better job, so I will give them credit there. I'm not someone that just pumps PWCC and, blow smoke up all you guys just to, I don't know, pump the platform or something. Like, I call out things that I feel like need called out, and I called that out a ton back in the day, but they've done better, so I'm going to go the other way and give them a little bit of praise. In this row again, 2 more white versions of the Team Mega Crack set with Messi here, going for $264 a piece and a PSA 6. Really no distinction between the Campeão and the Campeón in terms of pricing, so it seems like people don't really care. Personally, I don't think it's a big deal. Since I know that the Campeão is a bit rare and kind of more niche, I like going and getting that one when I can. But personally, I understand why people don't really care and don't really want to pay much of a premium for it. I don't think it's, all that extravagant, really. This PSA 8 Mbappe goes for $264. These have been dropping a good bit, as has Mbappe in general. He was sort of the hobby darling, and I would say he still is, but he isn't, talked about in every Instagram story that I go check out like he once was. So I understand how these have kind of come back. Personally, one of these, I don't know in what grade I'd want, but I would want to buy back in on these. I had some of these back in the day, and they've come down a good bit. It just seems like, not as many people give much respect to the sticker, which I sort of understand. It's really high pop, but at the same time, I do like it. And, I like the continuity of the Panini sticker. Speaking of, we have a couple more here, 2 more PSA 8s right above that. This Neymar Black Autos from the PSG team set. I really do like the on-card Neymar autos because you can get a full Neymar auto. It feels like that's just, really, really hard for him to do. He does have a pretty, sizable autograph. So, being able to have that on-card, I feel like helps a little bit. I also think it looks pretty good, although, PSG Neymar isn't really all that coveted in the hobby. Above that, we have a Bale auto from the 2016 Donruss here, the beautiful game. We have a PSA 10 Netfinders Messi going for $288, along with a R9 and a PSA 9 from the Equipos de Europa set. That goes for $288 with a pop 1 of 5, none higher. This will be the first one we look up this week, PSA 6 Frank Rijkaard. For some reason, some of these are in 81 slabs, some in 82. I think they're all the same, at least from what I can tell, because I look up 1981, 1982. They're all the same picture, and so looking at it, all the prices seem somewhat in line. This was actually a pretty decent price, I would say, considering the last PSA 7 last year did $312, and now a PSA 6 with a label that doesn't specify that it's a 1981 goes for basically the same price as a PSA 7 last year. I think that's pretty good. That's weird. There was also a PSA 6 from this same auction block that went for $186, so I have no clue why one went for $186 and the other $288. I don't know. I can tell personally that the colors are very different. I don't know why that would be, but I could see why someone would want to pay more for that. Next to it, we have a Titularis Pele in a PSA altered slab going for $288. Very, very much beaten up there, but seemed like a decent price. I bought one of these in a PSA 1 off of the Golden Pele auction a couple months back for $500 to $600, so having an altered go for about half the price seems relatively fair. I think it's a decent price considering the condition, which is, pretty beaten up. But still, nice price to be able to get a Titularis Pele if you are the buyer as well. Here we have a Julian Alvarez Gold Flood. I will say, I don't know, we don't talk about it much because we don't see many of the floods, but I do like the floods from Obsidian. They're at least something that stands out to me in Modern where not a lot of things do. Now, am I a Julian Alvarez buyer? We've talked about that before, probably not, but $300 there for a pop 1 of 1, just one higher. Interesting row here. We have an out of 199 PSA 10 from 2020-2021 Stadium Club Chrome of Ronaldo. This goes for $300. Obviously, sort of getting the price that it is because of the pose there from the celebration that is classic to Ronaldo. Goes for $300. I mean, to me, that seems like a pretty fine price on that, considering there's obviously many other parallels within the set, so certainly you would expect those to go even higher. I do like the celebration. It's surprising to me that you don't find more of the celebratory type of cards with Ronaldo doing his signature celebration. It's just very strange that throughout all of soccer collecting and soccer card history, they didn't really put more out there. Now they're sort of cashing in on it retroactively, which I don't enjoy, but if you can get something from his career, I do think that's a bit better, especially playing days at the club he was playing at during the time. We have a PSA 10 Messi Refractor from 17 Chrome going for $300. This Donnarumma was pretty interesting. I see these types of cards more so on Card Hobby than on eBay or PWCC, any of that. So most of Donnarumma's rookies are perceived to be 2016. This is some niche release that has an autograph on it as well, out of 43, pop 1 of 2 with none higher. I tried to look up sales on it, and basically we don't have a picture there, but there was a PSA 9, maybe the same PSA 9, I don't know, but one that was bought in 2022 for $600. So half off the last sale, but not all that liquid of a card, so you're probably not going to get the best number on it in a PWCC weekly auction compared to an eBay buy it now. But, I'd assume the seller understands that. In this row, just, a plethora of goats. We got a Michael Jordan card. We have a post-playing career Pele by a good distance going for $300 there, and a PSA 6, which isn't even really that high of a grade. I don't really know why that is, but I think it looks nice. I guess I'll throw that there. 1970 Franz Beckenbauer green and black back here for the CSG 7.5. It goes for $300, which is a fairly low price. There was one that sold in December for $492, so that's a decent discount from there. Honestly, just high-grade 1970 Panini stickers. I'm just so nervous about CSG slabs or CGC slabs because of the messy fake stickers that they ended up grading. And personally, I feel like the 1970 Panini World Cup stickers are such a good set that they should probably be in PSA slabs. So if people aren't sending them there, I kind of question why that is. I do understand that CGC does have some respect from the vintage soccer community, and I enjoy that as well. But for Panini stickers that have been shown to maybe have fakes out there, primarily with Pele, that's where it's been seen. But my, gut instinct would be if we see it with Pele, we'll probably see it with other people. But there could very well be a nice play here, maybe buying this, cracking it out, and sending it to PSA. I'd almost want to try that just to even know if this type of stuff is actually authentic. And if it is, I think that these are great buys, but I guess the uncertainty is probably baked into the price at this point. We have a 1968 Sicker Verlag, a Pele, PSA 7, pop 1 of 2, 4 higher. 1960s Pele is sort of a weird space in the sense that there's just a ton of stuff, so you really have to sort of pick and choose your spots if you're not a Pele PC type of guy. But this is actually one that I think is pretty cool, considering it's from the Cruyff rookie set of the, I guess this is 1967-68, but basically having Pele in there as well. You're getting the, best player in the set, but next best player in terms of what people are in that set for. And for $300 on a PSA 7, I mean, that's not too bad at all. Typically, Pele cards in almost any set are going to be head and shoulders above anything else, so to get it at a discount compared to Cruyff, which is reasonable, but still, I think it's pretty cool. We have a PSA 2 Mundo Deportivo R9 going for $312, next to a sticker auto Erling Haaland from 2022. Continuing the thing, we have another Haaland up here going for $324 from the Sapphire 2019 set. These have continued to drop since we started started the PWCC series. Originally, they were going for like 800, and there could be like 4 or 5 of them in each weekly auction. They would all go for 800. Now they've taken quite a step back, and I think it makes sense. I mean, it is a Sapphire card, but it's still a base card, so I get that. This Luis Figo 2017 Nobility goes for what seemed to me like a pretty good price if you're the buyer of that. $324 for a PSA 10 out of 30 on card auto. Looked up the price, and basically in the past, I mean, you have a base auto here in 2023 going for $320. You have a base auto going for $150 on auction. You have an out of 10 gold, which is, pretty cool, but going for basically $1,000 in 2022. And I feel like these types of sets, the on-card autos, have really held up since 2022. So to me, a PSA 10 of an out of 30 doesn't really seem like a bad buy at all. As you can see at the bottom, it's just sneaking in there. There was an out of 30 in 2018 that sold for $176, and that was just raw. So you're basically almost getting a discount on pre-boom pricing with that purchase. So yeah, congrats whoever got that. I think that's a really cool one. Here you have a 1964 Instantaneous Pele. Here, this is basically a set where, from what I can tell, there's just tons of Pele, just pages upon pages. There's been people that have been selling it off in the PWCC auction block, and so I've kind of run through them and noticed them, I guess. But being able to get a 60s Pele autoed for $320 doesn't seem all that bad. Now I get it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, and it's probably not the first thing you're going after, but just comparatively, doesn't seem too bad at all to me. There's autographs of Pele signing like random player cards of other people that go for more than this. So above that, we have a Saka 2020 Prism Auto going for $336. This Messi PSA 8 goes for $336 as well. Want to take a peek at this just because you don't see this type of stuff too often. Last week we saw a PSA 9 go for $840, and before that there was a 9.5 that went for $577. So last PSA 8 was $232. So I guess since then that's a nice little 50% boost from that eBay sale to this, and decent sign, I guess. But I will say, whoever got that 9.5, it seems like they got quite a steal there, being able to get that for cheaper than PSA 9s and close to a PSA 8 price. Pretty much just the state of Beckett, but people say buy the card, not the grade, but you don't see it happen as much as you probably should. 2014 Luis Suarez. Here we have a blue Pulsar. PSA 10 goes for $350. Really, really cool card. Love the look of it. PSA 10, hard to hit, pop 1 of 3. I can see why it does the number it does. I do find 2014 parallels to be a little interesting. I think there's a big drop-off between green crystals and then the next ones, because while this is an amazing-looking card to me, it's also sort of weird because it's unnumbered and it's from a national release, and so it's not really... I mean, it's in the set, but it's not really in the set. And then you kind of drop down to out of 99 purples and stuff like that. And so I find it interesting, and I think that that's part of what kind of pushes people maybe away from 2014 Prism in a way, and maybe towards 2017 Chrome or other sets because they like the parallel listing a bit better, and I could see that. Then we have a 1970 Pele, a discount Yatori PSA 4 going for $348. This Neymar felt like a pretty good price from my perspective. I sort of collect 2014 Prism autos. I have like 7 or 8 at this point, which is, just a small step of the way. But a BGS 9.5 10 auto goes for $372. It does have 1.9 on the subgrades. I guess you got to take that into account. But basically, I mean, compared to last sales, last one did $650 and $450. Before that, there were some around $300. But the point that I wanted to make was back in the day, 2015, these were going for $250, $350 all day. So you're basically getting this for the same price as about 10 years ago, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, at that time, Neymar was a bit more of a prospect and more hyped. But I think that's a good warning to other prospects and even other players out there that are doing good things, right? Just because you're doing good things at the time doesn't mean that your career almost isn't baked into what you are. This was at a time where people weren't really prospecting all that much. And I think 2014 Prism autos have kind of taken a step back because 2014 Prism autos, when they came out, were pretty revolutionary in the sense that you had an amazing checklist. They were sticker autos, but at the time there weren't that many autos in soccer, so sticker autos weren't heavily frowned upon. Now there's more on-card auto sets, and so people look at it a little bit more demeaning, and so I think that plays a factor. And ultimately, I think it's pretty crazy, I guess, that you can get it for the same price as 10 years ago, but that's the state of where we're at. Here you got a Leaf booklet patch of a ton of different people. Yeah, whatever. Keep it moving. Jude Bellingham, green refractor auto here goes for $396 out of 99. You have a TTT action shot of Beckenbauer here, PSA 4 going for 400. These have been lingering about there, maybe 400 or 500-ish. I've seen a few of them go in this grade, so that's not all too surprising. We have a Kaboom Julian Alvarez. Above that, a couple Pele's here. We have the Viral from 67 and the Sicker Verlag TTT PSA 5. Really, really nice colors on that. Goes for 420, pop 1 of 5, 2 higher. This was a weird one. I mean, just, post-playing career autos in general, I don't understand why they get the love they do, but the Xavi, I imagined whenever I looked at it, that it was going to be an out of 10. For some reason, the gold is a 1 of 1, which I think helps, obviously, in the pricing here, but Xavi's autos are also tough in that sense that you can barely ever get them on sticker, so, kind of natural to see that here. It gets a decent price, though. This row was a fun one, at least I thought so. A decent bit of pre-modern. We have an 85 Panini Foot Eric Cantona, goes for 468. Checked other comps, and this seemed like a sale around what you'd expect. Don't pop up too often, so when they do, they get a decent price. This David Beckham 1996-97 Panini, really, really good eye appeal on that one, goes for $492. This one's actually bumped up quite a bit. I think that at the lowest, there was a sale in the low 200s for this, and so up to 500 now is a pretty decent price bump. You have the Dennis Bergkamp Merlin Shooting Stars PSA 8 going for $504. Took a peek at that, and yeah, I mean, from the last couple sales, it's up quite a bit. Last year, it sold for $336, $400, and $305. The $305 was a PSA 8.5 also, and this PSA 8 goes for $500, so that's a nice 20-40% bump, depending on what you're looking at. Whoever bought the 8.5 probably feeling pretty good. Before that, as you can see in 2022, yes, they were much higher, but that's just sort of the lay of the land at this point. This is a weird one. The 2016 Panini Aficionado First Kick. This is a case hit. The parallels and sort of the different cards in this set are kind of hard to tell, but did a little bit of researching, and that's how I got to that. So that goes for $516. We'll see a Messi here in a second. Here you have a Modric and a Robert Yarny. I don't know who that is, but I gave it a shot. Out of 10 auto from 2018 Prism. PSA 9 goes for $528. That's a pretty cool one if you're a Modric collector, because obviously 2018 World Cup is sort of his showcase there. We have a 1964 Pele Panini Calciatore PSA 6 going for $528. Then we have a 1925 Dixie Dean, the Triumph Tranmere Rovers. Basically a team card, but I think card is a nice way of putting it. From what I understand, it's like a booklet almost. And I would believe that this is hand cut out of the booklet. I don't have too much info on it. I've only seen a little bit on it in the Vintage Discord, but yeah, that's what I know of it. He's down sort of in the middle there holding the ball, so it is a nice little picture, but depending on how you view it, it goes one way or the other, but $528 for that, pop 1 of 1, none higher. Then we have a 1994 Merlin Calcio Tonti. Love the look of this one. It goes for $564. Last sales were $690 and $1,000. I mean, the $1,000 best offer in 2022. Obviously going to be a high watermark, but, compared to recent comps, nothing too crazy there. It doesn't seem to go on auction all that much in terms of that high of a grade. Pop 1 of 6, none higher. And then we have a Platini 1974 rookie going for $564 in a PSA 5. Took a look at the back. I mean, doesn't look great, but it didn't look noticeably bad. So, kind of within the range of backs that you expect to see on these types of cards. There's more in particular stickers. Above that, we have a 2004 SP Authentic Ronaldo out of 325 red. This goes for $588. Last week, we saw another one. I believe it was the black kit that went for nearly the same price. So nothing too crazy there. We have a PSA 8 Messi next to it at $588. Sort of on the higher side of what these have gone for recently. Typically $500 to $600. So nearly $600 for the Campio there. A 71 Crack Pele. I've never really seen this before. I like the ray there on the sticker itself, and kind of a nice design. I always love colors that pop like that. Pop 1 of 2 at just 2 higher. Eusebio Mexico release from Panini 1970. A PSA 9, really high grade there. Pop 1 of 2, none higher, goes for $588. Next we have a Roberto Baggio Calcio Flash rookie going for $600. Took a peek at this just because I was interested. You don't see the Calcio Flash in this high of a grade all too often. Last PSA 8 did $1,200 on PWCC Weekly, so quite a dip from there. Before that, as you can see, $1,200, $1,000, $3,000, and sort of pre-boom, $400 and $100. So depends where you want to compare to. If you're comparing to peak pricing, obviously not the best of sales. If you're comparing to pre-boom, though, I mean, it's still up 6x from pre-boom, which is pretty decent comparatively, I'd say. Most things are probably in the range of, I mean, there's a wide range. Some things are basically the same price, some things are double, some things are 20x. So 6x doesn't seem that bad. Some things are, 100x, 200x, depending on how pumped they were. We do have a 2016 Messi from the same set as the Ronaldo, or the same case hit as the Ronaldo that we saw earlier. Goes for 630. I think it's sort of a weird looking card, if I'm being honest. I'm not the biggest fan, and I think I looked at the comps on this, and basically there were no recent comps, so there was really nothing to judge off of. But pre-boom, I think these were selling for like $10 or $15, obviously raw, but still, it's kind of crazy that now, $630 just because it's a case hit. 84 Van Basten Voetbal PSA 8 goes for $660. We have a PSA 8 Messi Monday Chromo for about $700. That's about where you expect them to go, within the range. They've been lingering between $600 to $800 for a long while now. We have a 62 Pele that I don't ever think I've seen before. I don't think it's the most flattering of the 60s Peles, but gets 720 there, and a PSA 6 pop 1 of 3. Then in this row, I think there's a bit of a standout, if you ask me, but we can explain the pricing here in a second. So this Erling Haaland PSA 10 goes for $750. You have a Kevin Keegan PSA 9 for $750. These have been about $800, $900-ish for a while, so it's around there. And you have a PSA 3 Crack Maradona from $78. Now this is a pretty low price, and personally, I really actually do want a unstuck version of the 78 Crack, but probably not this one. Basically, I mean, if you look at it, it's pretty diamond cut, and also it's very apparent what the other problem is. You're definitely tripping looking at this, and you're probably getting a bit dizzy at the same time. I mean, the Argentine flag down there is just so insanely off, and I can tell why it got the price that it did. If you're someone that just buys grades, though, not too bad. I don't know how much PSA actually takes into account the focus on the card when it comes to the grading, because, I mean, to me, that almost makes it unbuyable in almost any grade, to be honest. I just don't want to look at that. But to each their own, and if you're a buyer and just buy for the grade, then I think that's a really good price. Then we have a 1970 Pele PSA 9 OC going for $750. Very off-center there, top to bottom. Next to you have a Monty Gum from 1958 and a 1.5. It'd be interesting what you want between those two. I think for me, it'd be pretty easy that I would take the 1970 World Cup, especially early cert. That's like a really, really early cert, which is crazy to see. You don't see that very often in soccer at all. Comparatively, this isn't, the most flattering either of the rookie Pele options. Or you could go for the 2020 Mohamed Salah there with a Color Blast PSA 10, goes for nearly $800. Above that, we have a Kaboom Julian Alvarez for $900, a TAA Gold for $900 as well. Liverpool collectors out in full force. And this Neymar I thought was just brutal. I mean, if there wasn't enough of a point earlier that the 9.5 was cheap, I thought this was a great point to prove that. This PSA 10 goes for $930, and the auto goes off sticker. The other one was on sticker and looked really good. Personally, I'd take a 9.5 with a 10 auto over a PSA 10 with an off sticker auto almost any day of the week, especially if you're giving it to me for a third of the price. So again, congrats whoever got that 9.5. If you got the 10, hopefully you're trying to build the highest grade set and that's all you care about, because if you're actually looking at the card, I don't think that was worth it. We have a Luther Sport PSA 4 Pele, goes for $930 there. Always love the look of this one with the white border, white shirt combo. We also have a 2021, 2022 Donruss Pele auto going for $960. And then we have a Color Blast Erling Haaland from 2020 going for $1020. Then we have an FHER Di Stefano from 1953 in a PSA 5, pop 1 of 1, none higher. I've seen the Kubala go a couple times, and I think it goes for maybe 100, 200, so it makes sense that the Di Stefano goes for a nice multiplier higher there at 1,110. Took a look at this Kylian Mbappe just to see PSA 10. I wanted to check out the graph and sort of see how it's doing, and yeah, basically not a whole lot going on if we're being honest. It did start at 1,500, but it's come down a bit. I guess the lowest was 1,076, so it's up a little bit from that point, but nothing too crazy. The Iniesta we've seen run again, so we'll see if it sells this time. Presumably so. I mean, 1,200 isn't anything crazy for a 1010 auto. Personally, I like the autos. I like the autos from 2017 Chrome. I like the autos in almost any set. Some people try to say the base card without the auto is just as good as the card with the auto, but I don't even understand how you can justify that. Maybe it's just me. I know, like, as a collector, maybe you can say that. You could say, I don't like the auto, it looks bad, this, that, and the other. I guess from a value perspective, like, it cost the company that made it a lot more to get the sticker auto of Iniesta and put it on there than it did just to make a red card. So to me, that means something, but I guess to the general collector in soccer at the moment, it doesn't seem to. 2021 Immaculate Ronaldo here out of 99 goes for $12.60. We also have this gold treble. It goes for $12.60 as well. Again, that's a rerun there. PSA 9 Dennis Bergkamp also goes for $12.60 there. The PSA 8 earlier went for about $500. So, I mean, a nice little multiplier there for the PSA 9. Pop 1 of 5, none higher. So probably highest grade, giving it a little bit of a meaning. Then you got a few goats up here. We have a PSA 7 Vanderhoot going for $12.60. Pretty decent price. Somewhat newly graded as well, so I'm not going to take a look at the back, but if you want to, feel free. You probably should, especially if you're a bidder. Then we have a rookie Pele 2.5 SGC Titularis going for $15.60. Price-wise, doesn't seem like anything crazy. It does look really good, too, and presumably you would think at a 2.5 it would be unstuck. Nonetheless, it's definitely, some of the higher grades that you'll see for that release. Aquarella next to it goes for $1,600 in a PSA 2 with an eye appeal sticker. I think we'll see another one of those. Yep, right above it, PSA 3. Yeah, I think I'd rather have the 2.5 than the 3 just looking there, but maybe that's just me. Green Chrome Messi in a 9.5 here. I think that's a Gem Plus, goes for $1,650. This PSA 8 Messi from 2004 Este goes for $1,800. Took a peek at that, and basically last sales were actually really high. I didn't know that these sales existed, but $2,100 and $3,100 for a couple buy it now / best offers on eBay. Before that, though, $2,000, $2,600, $2,500. So actually, quite a deal if you were looking out for that one. PSA 8s don't come up all too often, especially considering PSA hasn't been grading this and hasn't graded it for basically 2 years at this point. So somewhat artificial pop control there going on. Pretty crazy to see. I think that this Messi tops a list of Messis. Like, no, there's going to be a Mega Cracks rookie, but basically the highest Messi in the auction block almost goes for $2,100. This is, I think it's like out of 50, or it's a really low print run card from the recent Topps Finest checklist. And I'm sure it looks good. It probably looks better in person than on the scan. The scan probably doesn't do it all too much justice, but people are really excited about this, and as you can tell, gets a good number. PSA 2.5, I guess, people are definitely paying up for the card or sticker / not the grade. PSA 3 goes for a good bit lower than this PSA 2.5 in the surfboard there. Top 15% eye appeal sticker. What was the other one? Top 30%. Okay, so, really good colors on this one, I will say. Next to we have a 78 Maradona PSA 4 that goes for $2,400. Took a peek at this because I was interested. You don't see these in really high grade go that often, and I thought it was a decent sale. I guess when you compare to the last sale, which was $3,300 on a best offer, it's not the best sale, but obviously, especially on this type of a card, you're going to get more money from a best offer than you are an auction. That's just simply how it's going to be. But when you compare it to, say, like this 4.5, I mean, I probably would rather pay another $1,000 and get the 4.5 with the, much nicer picture from the 78 set with the Argentine kit, and just looks amazing. I'd much rather pay $1,000, get the half grade higher of the, more normal crack rather than the cartoon version. But I still like the cartoon version. I think $2,400 is a decent price point on that. Then a few big hitters here. This Alifa Garrincha went pretty high. I actually don't remember what it compares to comp-wise. Yeah, so basically, we only have a couple 2019 comps to go off of, which is $500 and $560, so 5 times the price of pre-boom. Probably makes sense. I think that's deserved. We'll look up PSA 8s and see what they've done. So last PSA 8s did $3,500 and $3,800 and $3,300. So I think relatively speaking, that's a pretty good sale. Next to it, we move $1,000 up from $2,400 to $3,400 with this PSA 4 Vav, Pele, and Vava here. Pop 1 of 12, just 3 higher. Super hard to get in high grade. Most of them are really off-center, just like disastrously off-center. This one actually has somewhat decent centering, despite still being majorly off-center. Manages to get a 4, which is really, really nice. It has good colors too, which is huge with these. But yeah, fairly rare Pele rookie to be able to find, especially in that high of a grade. In terms of last sales, last ones were $4,000, $5,500, $3,200, and $7,200. So, towards the lower end, surely. But I think, even though it wasn't the lowest of the lows in terms of what we see, I do believe that color-wise and centering-wise, it's probably one of the best of the last few. We have an impeccable league stats Ronaldo out of 84, doing 51.60. People love the impeccable sets and the autos that pair with it. Then we end up in the top row where, yeah, you got three GOATs, or however you want to describe them, which order you want to put them in. Everyone's doing their own thing at this point, but 2004 71 bis in an 8.5 does 5160 there on that Messi. That's about what you'd expect, to be honest. Nothing too crazy. I guess a BGS 9 would be a pretty decent bump up, but people don't tend to pay that much for the half grades. It's not sort of the multiplier that you would imagine a half grade could add. This Topps Dynasty Pele out of 10, I want to take a look at that just because I was interested. And surprisingly, there was way more sales than I would have thought. I believe that's because there's a few different ones within the set, basically him like looking in different directions, but they're all patch autos out of 10. And yeah, last few sales, 7,500, 10,000, 15,000, so they were really, really high in 2022. In 2021, though, you know, a bit lower, 2 to 4 to 5,000, and then pre-boom, that's where I was kind of shook, I guess. But yeah, I mean, 270 in 2017, just crazy to think about. I mean, I think patch autos and stuff like that in general really has sort of taken a step up as the hobby's boomed. It's sort of been seen as the top of the top tier, and with someone like Pele, you're not going to get that many patch autos, so I can understand why this sort of has done what it's done. Ultimately, it seems like a pretty good sale despite, you know, being down from some of the highs. I mean, that's just par for the course for the most part. And then we end off at number 1 with a BGS 9 Ronaldo going for 6,000 there. In terms of price point, last sale that we had on eBay was $6,500. There was also a $5,000 best offer sale, a $5,000 fixed price, and then a $63 to $65. So at least here it seems like we sort of bottomed in the end of last year, at least for this card, and sort of across the board it's starting to seem that way. I've refrained from saying it because, you know, you don't really ever want to say that, and obviously I'm not giving investing advice or any of that. I'm just a silly guy talking about cards, and opinions should be taken with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, this card seems to get a decent bump, up $1,000 in a few months on an auction sale compared to some fixed price buy it nows, all that type of stuff. So to me, that seems pretty definitive, at least for this card in particular. And, you know, you can almost see it across the board depending on what you're looking at. All in all, though, really cool week in terms of auctions. I thought it was a pretty stellar auction block. Next week, we can take a peek. I don't think it's as good. Obviously, you know, there's going to be great cards in between, but starting off, we do have a Pele rookie or pseudo rookie autograph there. PSA 10 Kylian Mbappe rookie. Don't see those all too often on here. We have PSA 9 Roberto Carlos. We have a 44 Leonidas. Not sure if that's a rerun, but I feel like I've seen that before. Maybe somewhat recent. Maybe it was a lower grade. I don't know. We have a Cope Clips here. Billy Meredith, which is pretty cool to see. PSA 10 Iniesta. 82 Maradona and a PSA 8. Really high grade there. PSA 8 R9. Pretty high grade of the Flash du Football Pele. A nice looking R9 from the Alval that people, you know, either hate or love depending on your viewpoint of it. And definitely some nice added cards in between to fill out the auction block, but I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully you are too. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. I'd appreciate it greatly. Anything you want to tell me, anything you thought about the auction block, would love to hear in a comment down below. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.